I said, because we have a big health care reform debate going on in the United States, we were looking at Tommy Douglas, but he still wanted to know what else I would be talking about. And I said, and I'll be talking about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
She says they were only interested in what she'd say about the Olympics.
He made it clear by saying, what about the Olympics? And I said, you mean when President Obama went to Copenhagen to push for the Olympics in Chicago?
Yeah, it becomes the same thing I said.
No, I'm talking about the Olympics here in 2010. I said, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And he was clearly incredulous that I was not going to be talking about the Olympics. He didn't believe me.
You're very outrageous.
Yeah.
Goodman's been detained.
She's been detained before, yes. But let's go to a very good friend of mine. That's the Amy Goodman story. Here comes a fun one. Have you ever been to Fiji? Raise your hand if you've been to Fiji. It's a country. You've been to Fiji. Was it nice?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah? You know, a lot of military? Mm-hmm. Okay. Fiji has a military junta, in case, you know, that wasn't probably when you were there. My friend Anna knew about this, but she was doing an expose on Fiji water. Anybody holding Fiji water right now? Yeah, don't admit it. I don't even want to see it. No. Fiji water is, you know, look, they can explain themselves. I won't even bother. My version is they're a water company based in Fiji that's very popular in the United States. And because they're real trendy, you see like, what's the skinny one that always looks like she's going to die and did the porno tape? That one with the hotels. She, you know, has been photographed with Fiji water. And our dashing president, here and there in the Oval Office, this is real, they've taken his picture, and Fiji is on the table at the Oval Office. And actually, the Ministry of Tourism of Fiji uses this photo of Obama next to a Fiji water bottle as promo material. My friend Anna worked with me in New York, and she's a great journalist. Much like me, she takes a while to do a good project, I think. And so she's doing this expose on Fiji, collecting information about how, like, they have a little plant. That's not, the gun is photoshopped. The hat is real, though, comes with every bottle. And so, you know, they have this plant, and the other ones have a waterfall, and when you drink it, you feel like, oh, you're back in the Garden of Eden. And that's their whole thing. It's natural. They swear that they're, carbon neutral in their delivery of water, no matter where in the world it goes, because they load it on boats that are already carrying other things. Now, look, you know, this is a very subjective talk, obviously, but you know, you can look it up. Anyway, so Anna does her investigation properly, not like me up here, half-assed McGee over here. No, she really goes and does her research. So she goes to Fiji, and my friend Anna, much like I explained about some journalists, she's great with the investigation, doesn't know much about how the computer works. And so, you know, she likes the email. I hope she never sees this. I didn't tell her I was doing this. I'm going to get in trouble. You know, she does her email. She's in contact with her editors back in the U.S., and she's just there to, you know, go to the factory, some very basic stuff, I say. You know, the street that has the actual Fiji water, one of the foundation, is also the street where there's an internet cafe. And so she goes to that internet cafe because for some reason she couldn't get internet in her hotel. Look at me, spoiled first world boy. No internet in the hotel? So she goes to an internet cafe. And that is where, for the course of about a few days, a week maybe, she's typing her emails and she's sending her whatever she's working on back home to the editor. She has her computer as well at the hotel. And after a few days of this, I might let her tell this story. Well, anyway, one day she walks into the internet cafe, and the little person at the main desk there, you know, the one always playing the games or watching the porn, it says, "We're going to close early today," on like a regular day. And Anna's like, oh, okay, closing early, I guess it's Fiji, whatever. She sits there and she does whatever she does with communication, computers. This is me on a computer. And all of a sudden, police walk in, and they go to like the only other person in the internet cafe, talk to her for a bit, she leaves, and they go up to her and they go, "We know about you. What water company do you work for?" Apparently they don't read very closely when they're spying. And she said, "I don't work for any water company." And he said, "We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to slander the company of Fiji, and you're not going to get away with it. You know, we take Fiji very seriously here in this country. Fiji is important, and you can't just write whatever you want and make, you know, criticize the company and so on. So my friend Anna, she gets interrogated there for quite a while. Among the things they threatened her with, now remember, this is military junta now, so maybe they're a little crueler than they were when the dude on the phone was there. I'm just kidding. So they go, tell us everything, tell us the truth about what you're going to write, or we'll put you in a men's prison. And they gave one of these lines. I wish I could have been, well, They say, and you know what happens to women in men's prisons. Anna said to me that there had, when the military junta took over, they had put women in men's prisons and they were raped and you know, beaten. So Anna knew, you know, what these guys were threatening without saying it. And it was this, you know, moment of, oh shit, they've been reading my emails. It turns out that the woman behind the desk with the porn and she's a cop. And Anna doesn't know, and she'll tell the story here. Anna will tell the story. Oh yeah, I did this because I was trying to get creative. She's going to tell a story. Nope, she's not.
Yeah, it was
Oh, there she was.
Yeah, it was the day after my trip to the factory, so I sent a few emails back to the States, you know, saying that I'd been to the factory. I don't obviously recall, you know, what all the emails I sent were, but obviously about that. And then I do remember specifically I picked up a story off, you know, went on like Google News and picked up a Wire story just to see, you know, what the main stories coming up about Fiji were. And one of the first ones was a Wire story about these Australian and perhaps New Zealand journalists who had been deported, but they were reporting on the political situation. They had filed stories, you know, the government knew where they were. These were very political stories about the direct situation. Anyway, so then at that point, pretty much right after that, my internet connection just stopped working. It just died. And then I asked the staff, you know, I said, is it broken? What's going on? Is it the problem? And then they went back and like talked to somebody and came back and said, oh, you know, it'll just be a few minutes if you just wait, it'll come up again. So I waited, and it was just a few minutes, and then, yeah, as I write about in the intro to the story, then a pair of police officers came in, and I saw them go and talk to another woman first. I wasn't really, you know, I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but they went and spoke to her, and then they just, you know, came straight at me and were like, you know, we're going to take you in for questioning about the emails you've been writing, which was just a complete shock. You know, I had to even realize that it never would have occurred to me that they had somebody in there. And I would later, you know, he would tell me that this woman was a police officer. So, you know, they basically had, you know, I guess, I don't know how that technically works. You probably know better than me, but they, you know, they had some way to reroute everything people are writing, I guess, in this cafe through to this woman's computer where she can read it and you know, call the cops in.
So again, you heard that whole, I have no idea how exactly it works. I'm not saying I do, because one thing I want to confess right away is I'm not as technically inclined as most of you are. I'm sort of trying to be an in-between between the journalist and you know, the wonderful hacking community. But there you heard it in her words. I don't really know how that works. Apparently, that woman at that one computer it goes through her computer. They can see my emails like a pipe, tubes. A quantum leap through the pipes a quantum leap is not that far, it turns out. And so, I did what I said I would do. So this is my friend Anna's story. She did get out. The American consulate, credit to them, got her out. And she immediately left the country, and she has no plans of going back to Fiji. And the article is out. It's in Mother Jones, and it's worth reading before you take another sip of that Fiji water. So that's corporate spying. Beaten and arrested, yeah. I knew I would make a slide with that title one day. It's important to note, and I set off, here's another confession. When I do these talks, I don't drink, but I want to find something to bring to you, and I don't always find it. And one of the things I noticed in doing all this research, even before I knew I was going to do this talk, is that despite all we know about security, internet security, communication, so on, the most common way that a journalist is detained is still the old-fashioned way, which I can't tell you how to stop, which is the guy outside in a car in a trench coat waiting for you, following you in his car, or the people who come up to you and beat